Great Platte River Road that wends its way through the heart of Nebraska was the main overland route for the Oregon Trail, the Mormon Trail, the California Gold Rush Trail, the Pony Express route, and the first transcontinental railroad, and once the automobile came online, the route of the Lincoln Highway as well. The Pony Express remains only as myth, legend, and history, but the railroad lives on today as an integral part of the fabric in Nebraska. I'm Tom Wilmer. Come along and join me for an exploration of west central Nebraska. We'll start our exploration in the town of North Platte. It seems that just about every eastbound, westbound, northbound, or southbound freight train in America wends its way through the Bailey Switching Yard in North Platte, Nebraska. And in testimony of that, the Guinness Book of World Records certifies the Bailey Yard as the world's largest switching yard, with an incredible 315 miles of track and more than 150 trains coming through daily, hauling more than 14,000 rail cars. There's an 8-story tall golden spike tower observation platform at the Bailey Yard that's specifically designed for kids and families to view the incredible spiderweb of freight trains being switched and moved and changed out. Come along and let's join retired Union Pacific engineer Richard Ferran as he talks about the Golden Spike Tower and the Union Pacific Switching Yard.
Your name is Richard
Foran.
Tell us about your history. 38 years with the railroad.
Okay. Well, I hired out in 1968. I was a switchman in the yard for 6 years. They offered me a promotion to conductor after 6 years of employment, and I spent the rest of my career working on the main line between here and Cheyenne, here in Denver, here in South Morrill. The last 4 years I went to Missouri Valley, Iowa, to Fremont and Council Bluffs, and then on over to Marysville, Kansas.
And you were kind of the tail end of the heyday of the age of rail, weren't you?
I tell everybody I went from the kerosene lanterns on the caboose to the kerosene lanterns on the switches to the computers when I retired in 2003.
And you went from a real passenger train world to a freight world. Trains are still viable, but they switched, haven't they?
When they built the interstate, the passengers just evaporated overnight. And then when they deregulated the airlines, that took the rest of them. And basically, it just killed the passengers for any railroad.
And it's a shame because there are a bunch of people, not all old dogs, who still love the railroad. And you go to Europe, you go to Germany, and you go to Switzerland, and it's still a very viable mode of transportation.
A lot of people that we breed up here as tourists all the time, they always ask, where did the passengers go? And the railroads don't particularly like a passenger train because the revenue isn't there compared to freight.
So right now, this moment, we're in a tower overlooking a switching yard that is the largest in the United States. Tell us about where this is and what it is exactly.
And the best way I describe it to a lot of people is in the center of the United States. In other words, if you go from the west coast to here or the east coast to here, you funnel everything into here, you sort it all out, and then you reverse that funnel going the other way, and it goes all the way across the country from Canada down into Mexico. Basically, the location in North Platte, centrally located, is ideal for the railroad because they can grasp everything from both coasts and bring it in here and sort it out.
Some of the train cars might be coming from Chicago, say, but then they're going to be diverted somewhere else, so they have to unhook them from the train that they're traveling with?
Right.
Is that part of what happened?
Right. Those are manifest trains, but any of your trains like your coal trains, grain trains, double stacks, piggybacks, auto racks, all those are considered unit trains. They merely stop here long enough to take on fuel, fresh crew, and air test, and away they go again. Where all your manifest trains that come into the yard, they have to be switched out and resorted. When they gather up all the cars from the west coast, they'll sort them all out, so they're going to a certain destination going east.
And do you know anything about how they track the rail cars now? Do they have RFID chips, computer chips?
Yes, they do. They have a chip on each side of the car. One is on the back of the car and one's on the front. The computers do all the reading of it. So when we get it, it's a list and the car is already in position. So you know exactly what you got in your train and where it's at with that sorted out. And there's one located at each end of the yard, so every train that comes in is already downloaded in the computer. Every train that leaves will be uploaded back into the computer, so they all know the cars are going to the right destination. The yard master, that's his job more or less. He'll tell you what to go into a certain track and say, take the last car out of this track because that might be a cut number for a train or a cut number for a specific number of cars are going to run on the first section or the second.
You ever have any train wrecks here? They ever bump into each other?
Oh, it's usually human error. It's carelessness.
How many cars and engines are we looking at right now? Just get rough guesstimate.
The best way I can describe that, over 150 trains go through here every 24 hours. And coal trains alone, 70 of those in here, usually 35 loads and 35 empty. So that's a continuous conveyor belt of coal going through here all the time. And then your manifest trains, they're probably somewhere in the category of around 50 of those every day. Over 10,000 cars a day pass through this yard.
Wow.
And UP has over 3,000 locomotives. They'll come in from the East Coast and the West Coast. They'll service them. Sometimes they're only here for a few hours and they're right back out on the road going again.
That building with all the train engines coming in and out, that would have been kind of your old-fashioned roundhouse, but a lot modern.
Right, and it's a lot better now because it's heated and cooled in there, and then they've got pits they can walk underneath the engine, and each one of those tracks going in there have different cranes on them so they can lift heavier loads or lighter loads, so they can change out a component of the engine or the whole engine if they have to. So.
And your name again?
Richard Foran.
Richard, thank you so much. What a delight. This is called the Golden Spike Tower.
Right. North Platte, Nebraska. We call ourselves out here more or less the west central Nebraska.
Excellent. Thanks again, Richard.
You've been listening to the Lowell Thomas Award-winning podcast, Journeys of Discovery with Tom Wilmer, featured weekly on NPR.org. Produced by California Central Coast NPR affiliate station KCBX.